Chapter 18, Chapter 3, Part 2. Golden Spur Ranch. 10 o'clock a.m.
Well, this majorly stinks.
Mario, Gwynplaine, Hannah, and Stubba were all sitting in a small jail cell that was part of the building complex that also contained the sheriff's office. The others at the saloon had been very quick to point out Mario as the instigator of the brawl, and despite how much he had protested to the contrary, the sheriff had thrown him and his friends in the cell fast enough to make the plumber's head spin.
Things can't ever go easily for us, can they?
Mario sighed, staring at the ceiling. Gwynplaine was pacing back and forth in agitation, Hannah was gazing at her shoes, and Stubba was crying.
But I don't wanna be in jail.
He sobbed helplessly.
I don't wanna be a bad guy.
Thankfully, Hannah knew just what to say.
Stubba, you're not a bad guy,
she assured him.
Sometimes, good guys get thrown in jail because the person who put them in there is bad.
That seemed to calm him down a little.
Really? So you mean that sheriff guy is bad? Yeah. And once we get out of here, we're kicking his butt. You mean after we get his permission to go the mines?
Mario sighed, although that was seeming like an increasingly unlikely prospect.
I'd rather not get on his bad side any more than we already are. I just can't believe he's a bandit,
Hannah remarked.
I mean, don't they usually break the law? That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I've seen a cheap blimp conductor,
Mario said offhandedly. Hannah rolled her eyes.
Oh, please, Mario. There's tons of those.
Mario blinked.
There are. All right, that's it.
Gwynplaine suddenly snapped, spinning around to face them.
I'm sick of all this yappin'. Can we get out of here or can't we? I don't know, Gwynplaine. I'm open to any ideas.
Mario trailed off as he felt his eyes being drawn to the corner of the cell. There was a rather large crack in the wall that he hadn't noticed before. He got up and walked over to it, looking intrigued.
Hey Stubba, come over here a second.
The clubber obediently came up to him, and he pointed at the crack.
Do you think you can break the wall with your club right here? Hey? Oh, sure, Mario.
Mario stepped back as Stubba braced himself, then bashed the wall with all his strength. He immediately burst a small hole in the wall as it crumbled away, throwing up a cloud of dust.
Ha! Terrific!
Hannah cheered as Stubba looked proud of himself.
Freedom, here we come. Just remember, guys, be quiet,
Mario warned them as they all crowded around the hole.
We don't want to get caught.
One by one, they filed through the hole and came out in a hallway on the other side. There were only a few doors, and thankfully, it was deserted apart from the four of them.
All right, now if I remember right, that door at the end leads back outside,
Mario decided.
Now guys, listen. After that debacle, the sheriff isn't going to listen to a thing we say, so I think the best thing to do would be to get out of here as fast as we can and get over to Mustard Mines on our own. How do we do that?
Asked Hannah.
Hey, I'm Super Mario, remember? We'll think of something.
And so the four of them sneaked down the hallway as quietly as they could, although there didn't seem to be much need. They were fortunate enough not to run into anybody else. Mario realized that breaking out of jail had been easier than he had expected. Our luck might finally be turning around, he thought hopefully.
Awesome! We made it!
Hannah said in relief, breaking the silence as they finally reached the door at the far end.
All right guys, let's hurry,
said Mario, yanking the door open and ushering Gwynplaine and Stubba through. He immediately followed after them, and stopped dead.
This is great! Nobody stops Team Mario!
Hannah gloated as she walked in after them.
Especially not some dumb bandit and his dumb, aw crap.
They weren't outside. They had barged directly into the sheriff's office, and the sheriff himself was sitting at his desk. He did not look very happy to see them.
What in blazes?
He bellowed, slamming his hands down on the desk and jumping to his feet.
Y'all are those no good, brawl startin' varmints I just had locked up. You tellin' me you busted out? Sure looks like it, doesn't it?
Gwynplaine said sarcastically, narrowly dodging another whack from Hannah. Mario, on the other hand, was taking this opportunity to get a good look at the sheriff. He had seen blue, red, green, even purple bandits before, but this one was orange, which he was pretty sure was a first. He had on a brown cowboy hat and a matching vest, on which was pinned his immaculately polished sheriff's badge. A coiled length of rope was hanging at his side, and sticking from his mouth was a long stalk of wheat. He was also glaring at them rather threateningly. Well, as long as their cover was blown, the only thing to do was to try and reason with him.
All right, listen,
Mario said uneasily, starting to sweat and backing away.
We're sorry about coming in here. We didn't mean to bother you. It's just, we really had to get out of that cell. There's been a big misunderstanding. Oh, I reckon there's been a misunderstanding, on your end.
The sheriff growled, marching forward and prodding Mario in the chest.
Do you fellers even realize what you've done? Ain't no one has ever busted out of prison under the watch of Sheriff Snatchel before. Sheriff who?
Asked Mario before it dawned on him.
Oh wait. That's your name. You're darn right it is. Not that that's any business of yours, you common criminals. Criminals? Look who's talking. You're a bandit.
Gwynplaine scoffed at him. Mario smacked himself in the forehead. That was very clearly the wrong thing to say, as Snatchel immediately narrowed his eyes dangerously at the Goomba.
That's not what he meant,
Mario cut in.
What he meant was, we just thought it was interesting that you're the sheriff. You know, since you are a bandit and everything.
That didn't seem to make things much better.
Don't you think I get enough flack for that already?
Snatchel said impatiently.
So I'd rather enforce the law than break it. That ain't a crime. As a matter of fact, it's by definition the opposite of a crime. Okay, let's everybody calm down,
Hanner said quickly, sensing things were flying out of control.
Look, Mr. Sheriff Snatchel, sir. We're really sorry about the whole thing at the saloon, but that totally wasn't our fault. In fact, the only reason we're here in town is because we wanted to talk to you. Yeah, she's right,
Mario joined in.
We need to go over to Mustard Mines, and we were told you're the one to talk to about that.
Snatchel just folded his arms.
You really think I'm that thick, do you?
He remarked.
Mustard Mines? I ain't lettin' just anybody go over there. Especially with what's been going on lately. What's been going on?
Stubba asked curiously.
Oh, don't act like you don't know. You're probably in league with those sidewinders. I'll admit you don't seem smart enough to be in their gang, but still. Who are you talking about?
Mario demanded, ignoring the insult.
Look, we just got here today, and we have no idea what's going on here.
The sheriff looked impatiently at him.
All right, fine. I'll play your little game.
He reached for a paper on his desk and held it out. Mario and his partners crowded around it and realized it was a wanted poster. The picture on it was that of a sinister-looking little Mouser with a cowboy hat and a black mask over his eyes.
Who's that?
Asked Stubba.
That's just one of them. The Mouser gang is the worst bunch of thieves and scoundrels I ever had to deal with. And I just got word not too long ago that they took over Mustard Mines. They're looting all the town's gold out of there, and they're roughing up anybody who gets in their way. Ain't no one has been able to stop them yet. Gee whiz, that's terrible,
Hanner said sympathetically.
But why am I telling you this? You probably know all about it.
Snatchel growled, throwing the poster onto the floor.
Why else would a bunch of shady fellers like you be wantin' to go over there in the first place? You're their spies, ain't you? Just fess up. We are nobody's spies,
Mario said firmly.
We've never even heard of these guys before. The reason we have to get over there has nothing to do with them. In fact, if you let us go, we could get rid of them for you. Right. Then you mind telling me just what is so important over there? This has got nothing to do with you. You wouldn't get it.
Gwynplaine said firmly. Mario nodded.
You probably wouldn't. This only concerns me and my friends. Just know we have to get over there fast if we want to get time to actually start moving normally again, and we can't have. Mario!
Hanner cried, and when he heard his own words he realized too late the mistake he had made. His hands flew to his mouth. He had just blurted everything out to the sheriff. Like he had ever believed the truth about what was going on. Not only would he have no idea what Mario was talking about, now the plumber sounded like he was completely crazy. He had just blown their chance of getting to the mines once and for all.
I mean, forget what I said about time not moving normally,
he said quickly. Gwynplaine groaned and looked ready to smack him. Much to Mario's surprise, though, Snatchel did nothing but stare at him in shock.
Oh, no,
he groaned to himself.
You gotta be joking me. You just gotta be.
He threw his arms up in the air.
This is plumb ridiculous. Do you have any idea how much of an idiot I look like right now? Not really,
Hannah said in confusion.
What's the matter?
Stubba asked timidly.
I'll tell you what's the matter. First a bunch of no-accounts comes blowing right into town, startin' up a brawl right under my nose, then they somehow bust out of jail and try to feed me some bull honky about wantin' to go to Mustard Mines for some perfectly innocent reason, and now I'm actually forced to consider the veracity of their statement, on account they're the only ones in this whole town, apart from yours truly, who seem to realize there's something weird about it always being the same dang time a day.
He raged.
I've been askin' folks what they think about the sun being all frozen and whatnot, and they're lookin' at me like I'm some kinda nutter. What am I supposed to make outta? What the heck is wrong with you?
Mario's jaw had dropped open halfway through the sheriff's rant. He turned to stare at his partners, who were all looking equally shocked, as a silent understanding passed between all of them. Even Stubba seemed to realize what this meant.
You mean you? You remember day and night and all that?
Mario warily asked him.
Don't you be getting all loopy on me too,
Snatchel grumbled. He sighed to himself, massaging his head before turning back to them.
All right. You fellers know what's going on with the sun, and why it ain't never nighttime around here no more.
Mario nodded very slowly.
Yeah. And we're trying to fix it. That's why we're going to Mustard Mines.
Snatchel nodded much more firmly, seeming to make up his mind.
All right then, here's the deal. I'll let ye go to the mines, on one condition. I'm comin' with ye.
That shouldn't have surprised Mario, but it did.
You? But, why? Well, for one, it's high time somebody took care of that Mauser gang, and it seems like I'm the one to do it. And seein' how I still don't particularly trust any you fellers, I'm comin' with to keep an eye on ye. I ain't lettin' you out of my sight so long as you're over there.
He said sternly.
And anyway, if y'all really are tellin' the truth and are goin' over there for some noble purpose, well then, I figure there ain't nobody gonna bother ye if you're gettin' an escort from the sheriff himself, don't you reckon? I'm guessing we don't get a say in this,
Gwynplaine grumbled. Snatchel frowned at him.
No, you don't. I'm comin' whether you like it or not. So I suggest we get a move on.
And with that, he grabbed Mario by the overalls and hauled him out the door, leaving the plumber to wonder just what he had gotten himself into now. Snatchel joined Mario's party. Sheriff Snatchel is a gritty, no-nonsense bandit cowboy who upholds the law at any cost, although his most useful ability may conflict with his moral code. He has an inborn talent for finding any nearby items, even if they're hidden or invisible, and he can use his lasso to grab them immediately. In battle, he can use his grab dash attack to damage an enemy and steal its held item, or use lasso to rope one enemy and throw it out of the fight. Now that they knew they would have to deal with a notorious gang of thieves in order to rescue the Sun Soul, Mario's team decided they'd better stock up on supplies before they left. They stopped by the general store and everyone emptied their pockets buying items they thought would be useful, everyone except Snatchel, anyway. He just leaned against the doorway with his arms folded, never once taking his eyes off of them. He clearly didn't consider himself to be part of their group, just someone who was watching them to make sure they didn't try anything funny.
You know Mario, we're gonna have to tell him eventually,
said Hannah as she noticed the plumber glancing over at him.
You mean that he's just become the incarnation of one of 12 time-warping deities from a higher realm of existence?
Asked Mario.
Somehow, I don't think he'll buy it. Especially coming from us. But we are gonna tell him about the Sun Soul, right Mario?
Stubba piped up.
Maybe we could show him ours. Then he'll believe us and he'll know we're not bad. Yeah, it'd probably help our credibility if we actually told him what it is we're looking for,
Hannah agreed. Mario sighed, leaning against the counter.
It's not that simple, you guys. If he trusted us a little more, maybe he'd believe us. But the way things stand, we're going to have to win him over before we can tell him anything. I know I wouldn't believe it if I were him.
Hannah and Stubba looked uneasily at each other, then followed after Mario as he gathered up his stuff and trudged over to the door. He was really starting to miss the days when his partners joined him just because they liked him, no strings attached. As they left the store, Mario noticed that Snatchel was now standing outside and talking intently to somebody else. This newcomer looked something like a little Mouser himself, but was slightly taller and more humanoid. Mario recognized him as a Rat Funk, something he hadn't seen in quite a while.
Who's this?
He asked as he walked over.
This here's my deputy, Bronson,
Snatchel replied.
I was just telling him how I gotta take a leave over to the mines for a while. He's in charge until I get back. You sure you wanna leave, Sheriff?
Bronson asked cautiously.
I don't reckon I can handle things over here as well as you. Don't you worry about that. I trust you, and anyway, I'm gonna send those Mousers packin' faster than a tumbleweed in a twister. I'll be back before you know it. Well, if you say so,
the deputy agreed, noticed Mario and doffing his hat to him.
Good luck out there, partner. The desert ain't a safe place. And don't be giving the sheriff any trouble. Wouldn't dream of it,
Mario replied in utter seriousness. With nothing else to take care of, the newly expanded party headed back over to the gate that would lead out of town. The gatekeeper was still standing there idly, and you can imagine his surprise when he noticed the sheriff leading the same annoying group from before straight over to him.
Oh, Sheriff, sir,
he exclaimed, straightening up as quickly as he could.
Is there a problem with these folks? They had some dang fool idea in their heads about going to the mines, and I told them it weren't allowed. Whatever they did, I swear it ain't my fault. I ain't. Oh, calm down already, would you? I know about all that.
Snatchel replied shortly.
We already had a talk about them wanting to go to the mines.
The gatekeeper looked relieved.
Oh, you did. Perfect. I'm sorry they bothered you, sir, but somebody had to set 'em straight, and there ain't nobody better than you. I mean everybody knows that place is off limits, which I was trying to explain, but they just... As I was sayin', I'm takin' 'em there myself.
The gatekeeper was stunned.
Wait, what? Why mean, you're actually letting 'em go? And you're going with 'em? That's right. I'm going over there to lay a beat down on that good-for-nothing Mouser gang, like I should have done a long time ago, and this Mario feller says he's willing to help.
The gatekeeper stared incredulously at Mario, who grinned sheepishly in reply.
You sure that's a good idea, sir? Don't you worry about me, I got it all under control. So why don't you open that gate for us?
All of a sudden, the gatekeeper was looking even more uneasy than before. He started fiddling nervously with his hands, unable to look Snatchel in the eye any longer.
Well, the thing about that, sir,
he admitted.
There was one other reason why I didn't let those fellers go. Why see, I kinda ain't got the key anymore.
Snatchel blinked.
Come again. Yeah. I may have somehow dropped it on the other side of the gate.
The gatekeeper shuffled out of the way, pointing through the bars. Sure enough, there was a large rusty key sitting in the dirt several feet away, well out of arm's reach. Snatchel turned to the gatekeeper in disbelief.
How the heck did you manage that?
He demanded.
You plumidget. What am I hiring you for, anyway? What if this were an emergency? Does this mean we can't go?
Stubba asked in concern.
Now, nobody said that,
the sheriff replied. After studying the key closely for a moment, he reached for the lariat at his side.
I reckon I can take care of this. Mario, maybe it's time I showed you what I can do, hey.
Mario and his other partners watched intently as Snatchel started twirling the lasso for a moment, then shot it between the bars of the gate. The noose tightened around the key and he yanked it back through the gate, catching it right out of the air.
Whoa! Awesome!
Hannah cheered, starting to clap.
That was cool.
Stubba agreed. Gumblane didn't look too impressed.
Yeah, I can nab just about anything with this here rope,
Snatchel said with a shrug, unlocking the gate.
If you think that'd ever be useful to you, just ask. Thanks. I'll remember that.
Mario promised, walking through the gate as the sheriff pushed it open. His other partners quickly followed after him.
I'll be back soon, with any luck. And in the meantime...
Snatchel shoved the key back into the gatekeeper's hands.
Can I trust that hanging onto a little hunk of metal is not too difficult for you?
The gatekeeper looked completely flustered and embarrassed, and as Snatchel rolled his eyes and walked off, Mario couldn't help but laugh. Maybe having him around wouldn't be so bad after all. Mustard Trail. 10:19 a.m. As the group left town, they began following the trail through a barren desert area. It was featureless except for a few cacti and dried up shrubs here and there, although as they quickly found out, there were also some new enemies to be found.
Uh-oh. What are those things?
Asked Hanner as they noticed a group of spiky balls rolling toward them at a breakneck pace. They looked sort of like curled up spinies, but were green and looked more organic.
They're called cactorbs,
Gumblane quickly announced after pulling out his phone.
They always travel in groups, they love mowing people over, and in case you couldn't tell, you can't jump on them.
Alright then, Mario decided as he pulled out his hammer and went to work on them, along with Hanner and Stubba. His partners had no trouble at all, and between their multi-throw and hyper-bounce attacks they eliminated the opposing cactorbs in record speed.
Ha! That was no problem at all.
Hanner cheered as she and Stubba high-fived.
Right, Mario. F.
Mario screamed from on the ground as the remaining cactorb repeatedly jumped on him.
You ain't been to the desert much, have you?
Snatchel remarked. He obligingly stepped forward and lassoed the cactorb, throwing a noose around it and flinging it far off into the distance.
Whew.
Thanks, Mario sighed, getting up and dusting himself off.
You ought to take better care of yourself, partner,
the sheriff chided.
If that little bugger gave you trouble, you really think you can handle it over in the mines?
Hanner started grinning.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you're actually worried about him. Ah. That's so sweet.
Stubba laughed. Snatchel just frowned at them.
Oh, don't be thick. I just don't need any you fellers getting hurt on my watch. Now let's go.
As they continued trekking along, they had to deal with many more random cactorb attacks. Mario was starting to wish he had a more powerful hammer, because the constant battling was wearing him down quite a bit. He was getting exhausted.
Are we almost there?
Stubba asked after some time.
Shouldn't be too much longer,
Snatchel decided.
I reckon we just gotta.
Suddenly, he skidded to a stop. His eyes narrowed at something off in the distance and he clenched his fists.
What's the matter?
Mario asked cautiously. The sheriff pointed at what he was looking at.
That is.
Racing through the desert in the opposite direction as Mario's party were a duo of little mousers. They were both wearing ratty cowboy hats and black masks and bandanas, the signature of the Mouser gang. They were cackling greedily as they scampered along, each of them clutching an enormous gold nugget in their hands.
Ha! What a loot that was!
The first one laughed triumphantly.
The mustard mines are just right for the pickin'. This is the greatest heist we've ever done. Tell me about it. All them other stunts we pulled were fool's errands compared to this.
The second one agreed.
We'll all be set for life after this. And best of all, there ain't nobody who can stop us. Think again, you punks.
Snatchel bellowed, storming over to them.
Wait a minute,
Mario groaned, clutching at himself as he struggled to follow after him.
Mario, are you okay?
Hanner asked worriedly. The Mouser duo immediately jerked to a stop as they saw the group approaching them.
Ah, no, it's the sheriff.
The second one cried.
We're doomed. No we ain't. We ain't going down without a fight.
The first one snapped, getting in a battle stance.
You asked for it,
Snatchel growled, eager to oblige. Even though it was 5 against 2, the Mousers proved to be an incredibly tough fight. They moved so quickly they were almost impossible to hit, and more often than not Mario's teammates ended up hitting each other by accident. Then they were open to a good hard smack from one of their opponents.
Hold still, would you?
Gumblane snapped, trying to head bonk one of them and ending up with a face full of sand. Mario was faring the worst of all. The mousers quickly noticed how weak he was and started ganging up on him, ducking and weaving and smacking him around at every angle. Mario grimaced in pain and swung his hammer blindly around, failing to hit them even once.
Stop hurting Mario!
Stubba cried in alarm, trying in vain to distract them. Hannah was looking equally frightened, when suddenly, an idea began to form in her mind.
Mario! I got it!
She shouted, racing over to him and shoving the mousers out of the way as she grabbed him by the hand.
Let's do it, okay?
Mario looked at her and quickly understood.
You got it, Hannah.
They both raised up their hands.
Second wind.
All at once, a rainbow-tinted wind began spiraling around Mario and Hannah, knocking the astonished mousers away. As the wind surrounded them and finally rose up and away, Mario felt energy flooding into him once again.
WOAH! That was so cool!
Stubba cheered, jumping up and down. Snatchel's jaw dropped.
What the heck just happened?
Completely revitalized, Mario turned to face the mousers with a wicked grin.
Now, let's try that again, shall we?
Both mousers were freaking out.
Dang it! This feller's some kind of wizard!
The first one cried. Now the tide of battle finally began to turn. Fueled with confidence, Mario started dodging every blow the mousers threw at him before getting in several of his own. His partners were fighting valiantly and coming out on top.
I think it's time you gave that gold back, you varmints!
Snatchel finally shouted, charging at one of them and using grab dash. Mario watched in surprise as he rammed into the mouser and swiped the gold nugget out of his hands at the same time, leaving the thief stunned and out of commission.
Wow! Now that's a bandit!
Hannah marveled.
But I thought he didn't steal,
Mario said in confusion. The remaining mouser started panicking when he realized he was the only one left, and as everyone on Mario's team turned to glare at him, he finally dropped his gold nugget and threw up his hands.
I give. You fellers win.
He griped.
Just take it, I didn't want it anyway. Thank you kindly for that,
Snatchel said calmly, grabbing the nugget and walking back over to the others.
This ain't over, Sheriff.
The mouser snarled, grabbing his slightly out of it companion.
You may have beaten us, but you'll never even get into the mines in one piece. The whole gang's over there, and we got guards set up all over. You ain't gettin' within a mile of that place. We'll see about that. I never let a bunch of no accounts like you stop me before.
The sheriff replied threateningly. Without another word, the mouser scampered back in the direction he had come, dragging the other one behind him.
Well, this might be a problem,
Hannah grumbled.
They've got guards set up outside the mines? Man, we should have thought of that. How are we gonna get in now? Of all the times for the sun to go wonky on us,
Snatchel sighed, turning to look up at the sky.
It's dang near impossible to see out here when it's dark. If only it were night out, we could sneak past no problem. I'd bet my badge on it.
Mario and his other partners looked at each other in interest.
Oh. Don't worry about that,
Mario assured him.
I think we have a way of taking care of that. But hey, Snatchel. You did a really good job stealing that gold back from those guys. Yeah. That was really cool.
Stubba agreed.
But I thought you didn't like stealing. For somebody who doesn't like stealing, you sure are good at it,
Hannah remarked. Snatchel frowned at that, gazing at the ground and looking uncertain for the first time since Mario had known him.
Yeah, well. That's something all bandits are good at, I reckon,
he sighed.
Seems like I've been good at swippin' stuff ever since I was born. But it just don't sit right with me. I ain't a criminal, and I never wanted to be. But everybody thought I would, just cause of what I am.
He shrugged.
You get what I'm sayin'? Oh, of course. That makes perfect sense.
Mario assured him, eager for this chance to get their newest member to warm up to the group.
But you know, the world's not always as black and white as you think. Stealing doesn't have to be a bad thing. Yeah. If you're doing it to fight bad guys, then it's a good thing.
Stubba said eagerly.
There is such thing as doing the wrong thing for the right reason, you know,
Hannah agreed.
And if you're helping us, it's definitely for the right reason. Trust us.
Snatchel looked back up at them, still seeming unsure, but also slightly amused.
Humph. Well. All right then, Mario. I reckon we are gonna need somebody who can nab that gold back from those no-good mousers. If you really need me that bad, I suppose I could help you out. Once in a while.
Mario grinned.
But don't think I'll enjoy it.
He added sternly.
I'm only doing this for you fellers, and that's that. Now, are we going to the mines or ain't we? Oh. Yeah, sure thing,
Mario agreed, quickly following behind Snatchel as he set off at a brisk pace down the trail. His other partners followed as well, looking slightly bewildered.
Well. This will certainly be interesting,
the plumber sighed to himself.
I wonder if he'll be good to his word.
I think he's okay, said a very young voice in his head. He might be kind of, strict, but that's just his job, right? Oh yes, he's a fine man. And handsome too, giggled a second voice. But not as handsome as you, my sweet little hunk of cheese.
Hey? Oh. Thanks, I guess,
said Mario, feeling a little embarrassed.
But you guys really think he'll be okay on this team, hey?
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about that, Mario. The first voice replied. Once he, finds out you're not bad, he'll like you. 'Cause you're the coolest. It's only a shame he doesn't like stealing, sighed the second voice. You should never be ashamed of your talents, I say. If I were there I'd show him that. Mario smiled.
Yeah, you try that and see how he likes it. Does Mario always talk to himself like that?
Hannah whispered to Gwynplaine.
I told you he was nuts,
Gwynplaine muttered back. Hannah gave a light shrug, and together the five of them set off toward Mustard Mines. End of chapter.